The year is 1945. World War II is finally over. 6 years of bloodshed. Entire cities turned to ash. Millions of lives erased from the earth. And the regime that promised to rule the world had crumbled into nothing. For most people, the silence after the war felt like relief. But for a small group of men sitting inside a prison in Nuremberg, Germany, that silence felt like something else entirely. It felt like waiting. Wilhelm Keitel was not the kind of man who made headlines. He wasn't dramatic. He wasn't loud. He grew up on a quiet farm in northern Germany in 1882, far from politics, far from power. When he joined the military as a young man, he wasn't chasing glory. He simply wanted structure, purpose, a career built on discipline, and for decades, that's exactly what he got. He rose steadily through the ranks. Not because he was a brilliant battlefield commander, he wasn't, but because he was reliable, organized. He could manage complex systems of military command without complaint. When Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933 and Germany began rebuilding, its military men like Keitel became extremely valuable. By the late 1930s, Keitel had reached the highest level of military command in Nazi Germany, head of the German High Command. On paper, one of the most powerful officers in the country, but behind closed doors, other generals mocked him. They called him Hitler's most obedient soldier, a man who nodded at every decision, approved every directive, never said no, not once. Some of them had a harsher name for him, Laketel, a play on the German word for lackey. He knew what they said. He simply didn't care. When the war began in 1939, military orders moved through the German High Command like water through a pipe, and thousands of those orders carried one signature at the bottom, Keitel's. Some were standard military strategy. Others were something far darker, directives that authorized brutal policies in occupied territories, policies that would later be described as war crimes, but Keitel signed them all the same. By 1945, everything had collapsed. Allied forces were closing in from the west. Soviet armies were tearing through the east. German cities were burning. And on May 8, 1945, in one of the most significant moments of the entire war, Wilhelm Keitel sat down at a table and signed Germany's unconditional surrender. The war was over, and Keitel was arrested shortly after. What followed was unlike anything the world had ever seen: the Nuremberg Trials, an international tribunal where the architects of Nazi Germany were made to answer, not to a single nation, but to the entire world. When Keitel stood in that courtroom, the evidence against him was overwhelming. Document after document, signature after signature, order after order. His defense was simple: I was following orders. I had no choice. The judges listened carefully, then they rejected it completely. They ruled that a man in a position of power cannot hide behind obedience. That authority does not erase responsibility. That when you sign your name to atrocities, you own them. In October 1946, the verdict came down: death by hanging. Keitel asked for a firing squad, the traditional military execution, the kind given to soldiers. The tribunal said no, deliberately, pointedly. He was 64 years old. In the early hours of October 16, 1946, Wilhelm Keitel walked into a gymnasium inside Nuremberg prison. 2 wooden gallows stood waiting. Witnesses said he looked calm, controlled, almost composed. He made a brief final statement, then the noose went around his neck. The hood came down, and the trapdoor opened. The execution lasted far longer than it should have. Several painful minutes passed before the prison doctor finally confirmed what everyone in the room already knew. Wilhelm Keitel, the man who signed everything, was gone. He spent his entire life believing that obedience was enough. That following, orders meant he wasn't responsible. Nuremberg proved him wrong, and that lesson, that power never excuses you from accountability, still echoes through international law to this very day. The most dangerous person in the room is sometimes not the one giving orders, it's the one who never refuses them.